after such a prolonged layoff without, without them being possibly injured again, because of trying to get them ready so quickly?
Yeah, it's been, as I'm sure it is for a lot of other coaches and players and teams, to come back from long layoffs. When we left after our game the 19th, we thought we would be able to get back to practice on the 26th, and that obviously didn't happen the way we expected it to happen. So between our injuries and between COVID, very rarely have we had more than 5 or 6 players available at practice. It wasn't until this week that we were able to add a 7th player. And because of that, you're obviously limited in what you can do. And you're not quite sure as a coach, how much you should do. Add that you don't have the normal practice players that you might want to have because school's not in session, so they're not here. And it's a really challenging situation. And then to not be able to play for 20 days or whatever it is, you're going into Sunday's game almost like it's the beginning of the season, almost like it's the first game of the year. That's about what it feels like for us right now.
Do you know how many players you will have on Sunday?
We'll have 7. Nika will be limited in minutes. Amari makes 8, but she's not ready to go. So basically we're at 6.5. And we'll do the best we can.
Mike Anthony.
Thanks. Geno, we're coming up on 2 years of the world being as it is now. I'm just wondering, kind of a big picture question. I'm wondering, looking back on this chapter, what would you say about the biggest challenges coaches have faced? And just as importantly, I'm wondering, what are all these years into your career, what are some of the joys you get out of your job that tend to override any frustrations you may have day to day, week to week, anything?
I think these 2 years have been unlike anything we've ever experienced as coaches. I'm sure I speak for the majority of the coaches. I think the players have suffered the most, in that they've not been able to go about their daily lives the way either the upperclassmen were accustomed to, or the young players who don't know any different because this is all they've known. So you have all this time of uncertainty, which is never good. You think you have something and you don't. It's test and wait It's, should we test? Should we not? Are we testing? Are we not? How long am I out? Who's out? Where can I go? Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Do we have a game? Do we not have a game? And I don't know that there's any joy in that. I don't know that there's any fun in that. I don't know that the players show up every day, you know, being engaged 100% when, you know, for the last 2 years, they haven't had to be engaged in anything. You know, they're like you guys right now. They're a box on the screen. And if they want to be engaged, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. And, you know, you throw in all the NCAA rules and regulations, you know, how much time you can spend, how many days can you meet with them? Can you meet with them on off days? So all the things that made coaching what it is, what it was, is, to me personally, it's no longer that. You're not, you know, you're not doing the same job you used to do based on these past 2 years. And I think every coach has had to figure out a way to deal with it, and some deal with it better than others. Some players deal with it better than others, but I don't think anyone's been unaffected and feels like, yeah, okay, I'm in good shape. I made it through this. Okay. Everyone's been affected, and it's all negative. I don't know that there's one positive aspect that's come out of these past 2 years for anybody.
Can I just follow up quickly? In general, though, Geno, being a coach for so long, has there always been one or two things for you that were most important, or that you appreciated most about the process of being a coach, whether it be game planning or relationships or winning, or just what's meant the most to you about the job you do?
I would say the day-to-day practices, the grind, you know, show up, work out. Players come to push themselves really hard. Tremendous amount of energy. Lots of wanting to get better because you know the challenge ahead of you. And getting your team ready to play. And I think these last couple of years, there's been very few times when that's been the case, where you can actually feel it, feel the energy, feel the level of excitement. You know, it was probably taken to the extreme when you would run out the tunnel to an empty gym. So it became monotonous. It became day after day after day after day of the same thing, whether it was game day or not game day. It's very difficult to have that feeling of you're building towards something. So I think a lot of teams probably don't look as good as they probably could look. And I don't know that it's a lack of effort. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think it's just a lack of, you know, the focus and the energy and you know, I'm sure people see it at home. They see it at work. You know, teachers see it in school. There's a kind of a fog that that a lot of us are operating under. And that more than anything, I think, is has been the biggest struggle for me personally.
Thanks a lot.
We'll go to Alexa.
Hey, Geno, hope you're hanging in there. Are you able to specify at all how many players actually had COVID? And also for the players that are available Sunday, are any going to be, aside from Nika with her injury, under some sort of like minutes restriction as they work their way back conditioning wise?
No, I think we had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we had a total of 4 that had COVID issues, and no, the symptoms were almost nil. Certainly different than what may have happened last, the very first time in 2020. So probably under normal circumstances they would have been playing, but you take those 4 and then you take those that can't play. But other than Nika, no one's under any minutes restriction. No. Amari is not ready to go, and that's because she had other issues, and then she did get COVID, and so that was, that added to some things, and so it might take her a little bit of time to get ready, but everyone else will be good to go.
I know on the men's side, because of how many cases they had, Dan Hurley actually was like, you know what, we might not even have to shut down at all because everyone basically had COVID, and it's unlikely that they'd see more cases, that they might have enough players to keep above that threshold. I don't even know if you're allowing yourself to think far enough ahead. You're probably just trying to get Sunday's game in, but is there still that kind of fear that there could be another outbreak or anything like that as you guys go forward through the rest of the season?
I think that's always a possibility that, somebody's going to come along and just say, like they did in the past, just, shutting it down for a while. I think that's always in the back of everyone's mind. But right now, we're just happy there's a game Sunday. We're hopeful that nothing happens between now and Sunday, and we can play in that game. And then we have a game Wednesday. And, right now you're just thinking we play Sunday and then let's hope we play Wednesday. That's about as far as it goes for me, Alexa.
Joe Zone.
Geno, good afternoon. It seems like almost every day it's one step forward, 2 back. How do you evaluate progress every day under those circumstances?
Well, you're spending a lot of time in practice. Obviously, you're not going up and down the floor as much as you would like. You're not playing 5-on-5 full court as much as you would like. So your conditioning suffers, and you are working on some basic things. You're getting a lot more shots up. You're getting some basic fundamentals. Keep stressing those things. So in that respect, you can try to make some sense of, are we making any progress? But in terms of, are we making any progress as a team? That's really hard to figure out. We won't know that until till Sunday. You know, individuals, I'm sure, have gotten a chance to work on some things, but as a team, no, hardly at all.
Roger.
Hey, Gino, I hope you're feeling better. How much practice have you been able to get in 5-on-5, and how do you even get to a 5-on-5 situation now?
Well, it's hard. I mean, you have 6 players for we had 6 from the time we got back, the 19th, from the 26th rather, till about 5 days ago. We had 6 players. So, yeah, going 5-on-5 full court was just not an option. You don't have enough other bodies in addition to your own players to be able to do it. So can you go, 3-on-3? Yeah. Can you go some 4-on-4? Because you could throw a couple extras out there that are available. But other than that, no, there hasn't been much of that.
And
Maybe one day, huh?
Are AZ and Aubrey back in the fold at least now, or?
No, AZ hasn't started running yet. I think maybe next week, she's going to be able to do some running. Aubrey, we're waiting to hear. She's been dealing with a disc injury in her back, and there's a good possibility that she's going to need surgery on that. And I don't envision her being back the rest of the season.
Thank you.
We'll go to Michelle.
Yeah, Coach Auriemma, it's Michelle Vopel from ESPN.com. I know you've talked about it being sort of a frustrating time for Paige, but I wondered if you could kind of give an update on how everything's going with her rehab and all that. And also, if you saw Sue Bird is coming back for a 19th season, if you could just give your thoughts on a chance to have at least one more season with her in the WNBA.
Well, I hope Paige is back before Sue's back. I hope Paige plays before Sue plays again. That would be a good thing for us, right? I think her rehab has been going well. She feels good. She looks good. She obviously is, as you can imagine, disappointed that she's got to miss all this time. She's probably the only one happy that those games were all postponed. Everyone in the Big East that's asked me, when do you think we'll ever make those games up? I'm pushing for like February 18th, 19, 20. We play 7 days in a row or something like that. But she looks good. She feels good. And the rehab is going well. It's just time now. It's just putting the work in and time, letting Mother Nature take its course. As far as Sue's concerned, I'm not 100% surprised. I think it's great for the league that she's back for another year. I think it's tremendous for the people of Seattle. I know they're opening their new building that they're really excited about, even though it's not a brand new building. It's a new building in all intents and purposes. And I know that the fans probably had a huge impact in her decision. She means a lot to that town. She means a lot to the fans of that city. She means a lot to the franchise. and she means a lot to the WNBA. And I think for a player, sometimes the hardest thing is to know when it's the perfect time to walk away, and you don't ever want to leave too soon, and you certainly don't want to stay too long. But I think given the way Sue played this year and how she feels physically, I think she's making, you know, the best decision that she feels comfortable with, and I'm happy for her.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Daniel,
Geno, I know you mentioned it earlier, but how much concern do you have with players' conditioning level and not having been able to practice 5-on-5 in full going into a full game on Sunday? And how do you try and manage that for them as best you can?
Yeah, you go into the game and you try to use all your timeouts as best you can. You try to rotate people as best you can. You know, getting Nika back for even 15 minutes is a great opportunity, because now we can rest, you know, for a little bit of time anyway, one of the other perimeter players. And but you know, there's no magical formula that you can use to say this is how you deal with this. It's just one of those things, and you play it by ear. You go in the game, keep your eyes open and see what's going on out there and see who looks like what, and try to figure out how to keep everybody fresh.
we'll go back to Pat.
Coach, kind of a bigger picture question here. It wasn't that long ago, or at least doesn't seem in my mind that long ago, where the gap between the top few teams in the country and the rest of the country was huge. And you were saying that eventually schools were going to put the resources in and the talent pool would rise to the level where that was no longer the case. Can you kind of assess where things are now in terms of that? And do you think that the era of the dynasty, yourself, Tennessee, whatever, may be coming to an end because of those factors?
I think, yeah, I think there's probably a lot to be said for that. I look at, you know, I try to go by the number of upsets, you know, but what would be considered an upset back in the day, you know, an unranked team beating a top 5 team in the country or something like that, or how many games were won by teams that traditionally would not have won that particular game. And there's more of that now than ever before. And what the reason is, I can't tell you. I can't specifically say this is why. You know, schools have made more of a concerted effort to upgrade their programs. I also think a lot of the highly rated recruits around the country, you know, ones that people said can't miss, surefire, great players coming out of high school, and all the recruiting services tout how great these kids are quite frankly not that good relative to a few years ago. They're not that good. So what ends up happening is those next level kids now, they're better than they've ever been. And they're going to different schools And they're knocking off some of these teams that have these big time recruits. You're starting to see a lot more of that. And you're going to keep seeing more of that. I think it's happening on the men's side. You know, all these one and dones on the men's side, they're not winning either anymore. And I think on the women's side, what would be our version of one and dones, they're not as good as they used to be. So it's given that next level team that was always on the periphery of, you know, top 20, maybe 20, 25, 30, 15, could never crack the top 10. Well, they're not necessarily getting those big time recruits, but they're getting really, really good players who come and show up every night, bust their butt, and beat these other guys. I think that's going to happen more and more and more.
Thank you.
Maria.
Hey, Coach, it's good to see you. You mentioned that it feels like a whole new season is starting because of this break that we've had. But I would say that Caroline and Dorka in particular are going to be in a much different place starting this stretch than they were at the beginning of the season. So what's next for their progression? What are you looking for from them?
Yeah, with everyone that gets injured and has to sit out for any extended period of time, that opens up the door for someone else. And you hope that you have someone that can step up and provide you with what you need. And those two in particular, I think Dorka and Caroline have really proven themselves to be Division I players that can play at a real high level. And they both shown in some very competitive games that they can help you. And what I think that does is when you do get all your other players back, that just makes your team that much better than it was before the injuries. So through the injuries, you know, do come some positives. And for those two, yeah, it's been a great positive for those two.
Thank you.
Alexa.
Gina, this will be, I guess, the first game that, I know Nika's obviously playing limited minutes, but the first game since like Paige was also out. And so I'm just curious what you're expecting or hoping that she brings to the floor as she starts to get healthy again. But, you know, as you're waiting for Paige to come back, what do you need to see from her?
Well, one of the things I worry about with Nika is that, you know, going back to last season, she's had a history of injuries. You know, she struggled with that foot injury last season, and it really hurt our team. If you remember, our team took a huge jump last season when we inserted Nika into the starting lineup. And she has an infectious quality about her and an intensity about her and the energy level that she brings is somewhat unique. You don't have a lot of players like her. So having her in the lineup, having her available to play, I really think that's going to be one of the big contributing factors as to, you know, how we can keep winning between now and when we get, you know, our whole team back.
We'll go to Jackie and then Roger to finish up with Coach.
Hey, Geno, thanks for taking the time. Sorry I'm late. I was on a Sandy Brondello presser. There's a lot going on. So I'm just curious as to how maybe your group has been able to grow and learn since that week after the Notre Dame game, when everything sort of, when Paige went down. I mean, I know it's been a month since that game, but how maybe have you seen your players mature after setback after setback? So it's the injuries and then the COVID break.
Yeah, the Notre Dame game seems almost like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean just, numbers wise. I mean,
Mhm.
like 365 days ago, it seems like. But those first 4 or 5 days after that game were very, very difficult for everybody. We were so dependent, right or wrong, so dependent on Paige and what she did for us and how she made everybody on the team better, that without her, we were really at a loss as to how to function without her. It's a lot just to deal with that. And then you throw on top of that the COVID issues. So now not only are you dealing without your best player, but now you're not getting a chance to try to put the other pieces together and make it work. And I thought after that Georgia Tech game, I thought we improved a lot. Since the second half of the UCLA game, I thought we improved a lot. And it has taken a lot. It's taken its toll for sure. But right now we're hoping that with these last couple of days that we've had of trying to get better, and as we start playing some games and the games start coming in a rhythm fashion, that we'll be able to kind of develop an identity for this new team that we have now until we get everybody back.